Radiating from the heart of America and stretching from coast to coast and border to border, welcome to On Radio, the wireless industry's weekly download coming straight from the builders and newsmakers of everything wireless. Your host is Jim Tracy, and this is On Radio.
All right, wireless world, welcome to ConnectX. We are here at a show which is the kind of the mother of all shows for emerging technologies and things like that. It's called ConnectX. We are in New Orleans, and I am with a friend. His name is Chris Pleibel. Chris, welcome to On Radio.
Jim, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And where are we?
New Orleans.
Isn't it Nolans?
Oh, Nolans. I forgot.
Yeah. Something like that. I get corrected every time I come down here.
Yeah, I know, right? And they correct us on the weather too, but it's muggy outside. You just drip when you walk outside.
It's muggy inside too.
Yeah. So Chris is with Perfect Vision. They're a valued supplier to the entire wireless ecosystem. Tell us a little bit about PV.
So we have a unique company. We have three different verticals that we can approach. We have a division that can help companies like Viasat or DirecTV or Windstream. We help them grow their subscriber base through a vast network of retailers that we kind of business consult and teach them how to resell services to the consumer. Then we also have a division that is a lower tech force that will go into the home and install CPE for some of those companies that we have
CPE
sold.
is tough with acronyms, man.
It's consumer premise equipment. So DVR
on your
Wi-Fi
house.
on your house.
We're going to help. You're going to take an old guy. You're going to take a grandpa, and you're going to say, "I'm going to teach you how to make the clock stop flashing on your VHS."
We can try to do that, yeah. So we'll put like a dish on the side of the house, run cabling to the DVR, teach them how to use the remote control, that type of stuff.
But that's probably not why you're at this show.
That is not.
Okay.
I am here today because we are I think a cutting edge manufacturer of steel components, fiber, and cabling, like category cable and that type of stuff. So we're here today trying to learn how we take our product and make them more applicable to the marketplace so that we can be a better resource to the end user, like to the Verizons and the T-Mobiles and the AT&Ts.
So when we look at a consumer out in the marketplace and they're talking on their phone, they're taking this voice and they're converting it to RF and they're making that turn into copper and then they're making that turn into fiber, maybe a microwave beam, and then goes to a CO and then comes back out through fiber, through copper, through RF and into your phone. You guys know how that works, don't you?
Not now. I can't believe it does work.
And it shocks us, even though it works every time.
Yeah.
So, and that's really an important part. You also do some distribution of products that help contractors, help our tower climber, our community, our carriers, the REITs, everybody. You kind of help everybody make sure this stuff works.
Yeah, we should hire you as the sales guy. I forgot that part, right? So after we manufacture the products, our goal is to put the material in stock so that we can ship same day to the end user, to cut down their payable time and get the speed to market for the installer.
Because it's all got to move at the speed of wireless.
It does. It does.
Okay, so at ConnectX, they call this a business and technology event. And I really, it's important that our folks understand, we don't come here just to go to a concert, although we're going to talk a little bit about that. We come here because there are 50 plus educational sessions. There are keynote speakers, which, yesterday, Mark Ganzi stood up and gave a keynote speech, and I was standing at the back of the audience. I thought, if I spent 10 minutes inside his brain, my head would explode. I would be done, yeah.
I'm in awe every time that guy talks.
Future looking, forward looking, is a great job. He's fascinating, and the positive message that he carries all the time is really, really cool.
Some of the high level leaders of our industry, I think we're blessed to have them taking us down the right path. I believe that the Alex Gelmans and the Ganzis, and it's just
Jeff Stoops, Patrick Halley, all the new guard and the old guard are really working well together at WIA, aren't they?
Yes, it's amazing.
It's really cool because if you look at the history of WIA and the show ConnectX, it's really an older trade organization in terms of our industry. It used to be called PCIA, the Personal Communications Industry Association, and they said, hey, it's really more about our wireless infrastructure.
Yep.
Yeah. So You had to conduct one of these educational sessions. So you got all these smart people sitting out in the audience. You're trying to tell them about what?
We're trying to tell them about how we're trying to position ourselves with being we manufacture passives, right? And we don't get into that active game. I guess we're not smart enough to be in that active game, but we are trying to seek information so that we can manufacture products that will allow us to support the active gear to the fullest effect.
Yeah, and so when you say manufacture passives versus actives, tell our audience what I'm not smart enough to even understand that. So what are passives?
So we'll start with active, it might be easier. So active would be the radio and the antenna that generate that signal that is sending and receiving so that we can, so we can use this guy all day long, right?
Right on.
Then that is the heartbeat of the industry, but the passives are things that support the antennas, that carry the signal from the antenna to the radio. We need to support the radios, and there's a bunch of different types of cabling and a bunch of different types of steel components that allow those things to happen. Is that fair?
Perfect Vision makes the stuff that holds the stuff.
We make the stuff that holds the stuff.
And it carries the stuff. Some of the messaging and the signals have to have a carrying medium, and you make a lot of that kind of stuff too.
We do, and we're not just macro on the cell phone tower. We also do a lot inside the building. We do, from structured cabling perspective, we do a little bit in the public safety sector. But yeah, we are trying to broaden our horizons to have a more diverse portfolio.
Sweet. Yeah. That's always good news. Now, last night we had a concert. Told you I was going to tell you about that, but we had a concert that was supported by Vertical Bridge, and it's for the music movement. And the music movement, it's just a wonderful thing that our industry continually steps up.
Yes.
And so what they do is they provide musical education training interface with music to children who are on the autism spectrum.
That's amazing.
And if you think about it, you play a little Beethoven, everybody calms down. Well, when you really need to calm down because you have been on the autism spectrum and music helps you, what a gift. And they did a concert last night. It was amazing. It was too loud for me, but it was amazing because they raised a lot of money for the music movement. And the wireless industry keeps stepping up, don't they?
We do. We really, really do. We're revealing our age about the loudness of the concert. I totally agree with you there. But the wireless business really does, or the infrastructure business really does support a lot more than just our self-interest, right? The state wireless associations, I can't wait for WIA to aggregate how much money each one of those state associations have generated and donated over the course of the year. I bet you that's a really big number, and
hefty sum.
I think we'd all be really, really surprised at that dollar value.
Well, and even you yourself, if you talk about people who are actually stepping up to the plate and helping out, Chris recently joined the Tower Family Foundation, and you serve ably on which committee is it?
The advisory committee, yes.
Okay, so in the advisory committee of the Tower Family Foundation, you take in these applications and you just say, hey, how can we help? How's that going so far?
It's been a very emotional and humbling situation for the. It's only been a few months since I've been on, and typically I'm more on the sales side or the fundraising side, and I've been blessed with the opportunity to have the ability to chime in on who to give or approve the monies to be distributed out to particular families, right?
Yeah.
And
the stories are always heartbreaking.
It is. That was my dramatic pause there. It's heartbreaking because I just was thinking of one of them specifically, and it is. We think we might have a tough time, but man, when you lose the breadwinner of the family and there's a bunch of people relying on that person, it is it's pretty humbling.
Yeah. But to be able to step in and step up for someone who's a breadwinner who's not there today and was there yesterday is
it's rewarding.
Is really a huge calling, and we truly are the beneficiaries of being able to be the guys who step in and step up and help out. So.
And Jim, I appreciate you for heading that up and getting that started with the National Association of Tower Erectors. That's a really big thing.
But the sponsors are the one that make it. We just stand here and go like this, and they actually write big checks. And so we appreciate you sponsors.
Yes.
So moving on from that, the leaders in 5G innovation are here today at this show. And it is astounding because they look way farther than we look. And you know, we're talking about mid-level, mid-launch of 5G, and they're talking about 6G, near edge, far edge, big data centers, middle data centers, fiber to the room instead of fiber to the home.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah.
The technology changes are astounding. How does Perfect Vision kind of keep up with what's going on?
You know, it's coming to events like ConnectX at the WIA. It's connecting with great customers and partners of ours. The Ontivity family, we have some very meaningful conversations and relationships that we can bounce off things that we're learning and hearing, and we try to listen to the marketplace for us to create products that will help perpetuate this crazy growth and deploying 6G and fiber to the room. I mean, it's great. We have a long career here ahead of us, but it's where do you focus your time, and if you choose to focus your time in that particular segment, is that the right segment?
Yeah.
It's always a game.
You know, it strikes me when we met with some tower owners, and we met with some carriers, and we met with some people in between, some suppliers, and at every level, the wireless ecosystem continues to amaze me because people like Chris are out there solving problems, and sometimes the problems are not big problems, sometimes they're little problems, and when we step up as an industry to solve them, it just gets better every step of the cycle, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
And it's funny you said the 6G thing. Right before I came up, I bumped into an old friend, and he has a product that's going to support 6G, and he's like, nobody's at my booth. I'm like, well, because we're still doing 5G. Like, you're way ahead of the curve.
Because we have a job to do, right?
We have a big job to do, yeah.
And they can't even define 6G yet, so we might as well just finish 5G while we're at it.
Let's do it and do it well.
But you know, there are changes coming in the marketplace. There's, you know, forecasted pickups, forecasted slowdowns, but the future looks really bright. You know, back in 1999, my mom came to me and she said, do you think that they're really going to need all these towers? And I said, Mom, I think we'll be okay. That there might be a future in this wireless industry.
There might be.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that. My first job in the industry was for a pole manufacturer up in northeastern Pennsylvania. And the CEO of the company sat down in 1999 and put a committee together, and it said, you guys need to figure out what we're going to manufacture when this all dries up in 2 years. And here we are. We're still, I mean, heck, this is going to be one of the biggest new build site years in a long time.
And we're not reliant on the pagers anymore, are we?
Pagers. Yeah.
Well, there's that part of the industry too. So as we go ahead, you see things like private networks popping up. Tell us how you guys are going to engage that market where private networks are such a huge part of the go-forward plan for our industry.
You know, that private network thing is maybe I'm dating myself or revealing that I'm not up to speed. To me, it's not a clear path yet. Big companies are grabbing up the CBRS stuff. Small individual companies are grabbing up the CBRS stuff, and people are doing their own things with it. We've had some success with talking to some of the end users and trying to figure out what their vision is of that private network and how we can support it. So again, it goes to their relationships, it goes to asking questions and trying to solve problems for those specific people.
Yeah, and as you look at that type of scoop up, it really reminds me of the
Early.
mid to not even the late 80s, where people were just saying, hey, I'd like to own some of that spectrum. We don't know why yet, but I'd like to own some of it. And they ended up being the developers and the purveyors of everything wireless that we enjoy today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it might be a good thing that there is less definition with private networks, but the private LTE is here to stay, and it's going to increase rather than, for security reasons, if that alone.
Absolutely.
You get big companies, and they want to make sure that their data is secure. And by making their data secure, what we do is provide yet another solution. We're solving another problem.
Correct.
Yeah. So edge and near edge and far edge are probably coming faster than anybody anticipates. And when we talk about that, we're talking about the computing power that's next to the user. And so as we bring that out to street poles and light poles and hotel rooms and places like that, how's that going to change what we do?
I think you got to get the signal as close to the handset as possible, and that's going to, in my opinion, it's going to reduce down the size of things because you can't hang a big macro antenna in the middle of a room, right? So we have to, from a manufacturing perspective, we have to figure out how to manufacture smaller things to be able to handle to be in the proper price range and the proper design criteria to handle this smaller, closer, denser network.
And if you think about it, that's the history of our entire industry. We went from bag phones to, well, little handheld computers. And faster, lighter, stronger, better is just the continuum of what we started at in the mid-'80s.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. 5G in my opinion, it's like the chicken or the egg. So they're deploying a bunch of 5G sites, and we as a consumer on our handset, we don't really notice that too much, right? We do notice a little bit of speeds, the zero latency, but I don't think that their industries have not been birthed yet that are going to utilize 5G. And once that happens, I think then we're going to get the real push on 5G.
Yeah, and faster.
And faster.
Because that bandwidth has got to be narrowed so we can make it more focused and
correct. It's exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Too, you guys work a lot in the public safety arena. And so one thing that we always point out to people is now fully 80% of all 911 calls come from a mobile device. And because of that, America is reliant entirely upon the wireless ecosystem and the work you do to make sure that we can get help when we need it. So as you look forward in public safety, you now have got FirstNet, and we're back to push to talk, but not back to,
right.
I mean, there's so many changes, it's happening so fast. Tell us why that's working for you in public safety.
Well, the unique thing is public safety is a pretty big umbrella, but you have the 911 dispatch center that requires cabling and communications and antennas and towers, and then you have the new AHJs that are requiring public safety communication deep in the bowels of buildings, so that's a benefit there. And then 5G technology, because a lot of first responders need to know what they're getting themselves into and how to solve that problem from a handset or a computer on board.
And what floor the call came from on that building across the street.
Good point, absolutely.
So we appreciate you and your commitment to our industry, and it's been a lot of fun doing this podcast with you. And let's go to Atlanta next year, next May 14th through the 16th. ConnectX 2024. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Can you believe it?
In Atlanta, Hotlanta, Georgia. Did I get that one right? Is that better than New Orleans?
New Orleans. A lot better. New Orleans.
So we'll see you next year at ConnectX. And as always, from Chris and from Jim, let's all choose safety today. This is Jim, and I am out.
Thanks for tuning in today, and join us every week. Tell your people to listen in and subscribe to On Radio, the voice of everything wireless.